I'm Peter, and I used to run the emotional trauma support for narcissistic abuse survivors. It was then called Emotional Trauma Support Hub. Last year, I did a number of monthly sessions with fellow survivors and victims of narcissistic abuse. And I've decided I'm going to put all my slides into presentations onto my YouTube channel. This is on relationship codependency. Being a codependent, I've learned that codependency and narcissism are very linked from childhood into adulthood. So I'm going to run through these slides and talk about them. So what is codependency in a relationship? It can be defined by a person belonging to a dysfunctional, one-sided relationship where one person relies on the other for meeting almost all of their emotional and self-esteem needs. It also describes a relationship that enables the narcissist to maintain the controlling, irresponsible, and reckless behavior. Codependency, in other words, is sacrificing one's personal needs in order to try to meet the needs of another person or other people. Because codependency isn't about being codependent to one person. If you're codependent pretty much in all your relationships. Defining relationships of codependence. It's also known as relationship addiction. These type of relationships are one-sided, with one person submitting control, their personal boundaries, and these relationships are emotionally destructive and or abusive. Codependency, just like narcissism, forms in childhood. Hence, I call it the origin wounds in childhood. It is learned by watching and imitating family members who display this type of behavior. It's usually a parent or parents. Codependency is also called emotional irregularity disorder by some psychologists because it's irregular. Factors leading to codependency: lack of love and nurture, rejection and abandonment, family addiction, physical, emotional or sexual abuse, or mental and or physical illness. So to understand if you're codependent, or if you're kind of realizing you've been in a pattern of being submissive in a relationship or even in a friendship, ask yourself some of these questions. Does your sense of purpose involve making extreme sacrifices to satisfy your partner's needs, i.e. also friendships, family relationships? Is it difficult to say no when your partner makes demands on your time and energy? If you find saying no is hard, that you don't want to disappoint people, there's codependency there. Do you cover up for your partner's problems? Do you constantly worry about others' opinions of you? Do you feel trapped in your relationship? Do you keep quiet or submit control to avoid arguments? What are some of the symptoms of codependency? These are just some. These are some of the main ones, but there are many others too. Low self-esteem, people-pleasing, poor boundaries, reactivity. In other words, absorption of other people's thoughts. Caretaking another person and not taking care of your own needs. Maladaptive communication, obsessive thoughts, dependency. You're afraid of feeling abandoned or rejected. So you feel like if you say no, you'll be rejected. Denial that there are problems. Intimacy problems. Shame. See, shame works very hard and differently within codependency, where we put it on ourselves. Shame for a narcissist, they put it on other people. The links between codependency and narcissism. Codependents lack a healthy relationship with their self. They are prone to put others first before their own needs. The narcissist puts their self above all else. So see, there's a opposite. The narcissist only cares about themselves and what they can get. The codependent wants other people to feel happy, pleased. They use others towards their own ends and exploit relationships without feelings of guilt or remorse. Sure, they can project it because they want to get something out of it. The codependent and the narcissist are like two pieces of the puzzle coming together. Reflections. A narcissist abuses others as a means of not facing the self, the true self. The codependent abuses the self as a means of not facing others. So this is some of the differences between what's a codependent relationships and what is a normal, healthier relationship. So, it's important to realize that many relationships that humans have, especially if they come from broken families, dysfunctional family dynamics, there's either two ways the child goes. Either becomes a codependent or narcissism. Now, if it's in a more normal household where the parents are not having a dysfunctionality, codependency does not generally occur. Ross Rosenberg, who did a book called The Human Magnet Syndrome, did this quote. It's really great. It's like a dance, a magnetic dance, where the codependent is attracted to the narcissist and narcissist is attracted to the codependent. However, narcissism is a fixed state, codependency isn't. Recovery is very possible. And I'm in recovery myself. I'm a different person to who I was a long time ago. See, you have to prioritize yourself coming out of the codependency and being able to say no. So these are some of the recovery suggestions. Recovery begins with finding help, psychological counseling, therapy. It helps. I went through it, I'm going through it, and it's helping a big time. Getting out of an emotional, toxic, traumatic relationship, if at all possible. Building self-awareness. You gain information and come out of denial. Healing your relationship within yourself, with yourself. Healing your relationship with others. Expanding your relationship with the world. See, codependency is a cycle and it can be broken. Acknowledge that you're codependent. Without change, nothing changes. We can't control others, and it's not our job to do so. Love and obsessions are not the same. See, many people say, I love this person. But you see, if I reflect back in my relationship, it was more lust and it was addiction. Yes. And I'll talk about addiction in a later slideshow. Invest in repairing the relationship with yourself. Challenge your beliefs and self-defeating thoughts about your self-worth. Practice self-compassion over self-criticism. I also recommend Coda, which is Codependency Anonymous. They do group sessions of people wanting to explore codependency, recovery tools, and they do meetings and sponsorship. I have attended meetings and it is helpful. And just hit up Google or Bing or whatever search browser you got, and just put Coda Australia, CODA Australia, and you'll find many groups. My personal recovery steps. I must overcome denial that keeps me trapped in the doing the same unhelpful, mindless behaviors over and over without asking myself, why am I doing these things? I must educate myself about codependency and what makes healthy relationships healthy. I must understand the skills and beliefs that produce healthy relationships so that I have a vision of where I want to go. See, if you don't have kind of a plan going forward, nothing will work. You will just stay in a loop, an unhealthy loop. I must become familiar with my codependent patterns by observing them, not judging them, just observing until I can see them clearly and fast and ready to take steps forward towards healthy changes in my relationships. I must feel the fear and shame and do it anyway. The fear that if I take care of myself in a relationship, then I will be rejected and abandoned. And the shame that if I say no, I ask for what I want, that I'm being selfish. Progress, not perfection. There's no such a thing as perfection. It's about progress. Codependency is imbalance within yourself. Mind, body, and heart. These are some of the attitudes of codependency. These are some of the resources that I've picked up and find helpful. Darlene Lancer is an author on codependency and does a great service and has a lot of resources. So basically, this is